Welcome into another video. Today, we are going to be breaking down the cornerback position and talking about my top 10 guys from an absolute loaded class. This is video number 3 of our positional rankings. We've done linebackers and defensive tackles. If you want to go check those out, those are on the channel. If you love NFL draft content, if you love Chicago Bears content, and if you love NFL content as a whole, make sure to like and subscribe. Go ahead and leave a comment down below on what you think about my top 10. I will say I kind of fared with the consensus more on this one than I did with my linebackers. I'm a lot more agreeing with the consensus on this one. But let's go ahead and get into it with my number 10 cornerback. And I don't even know if this guy's going to play cornerback, if I'm being honest with you, but he's just a ball player. That's Keontae Scott out of Miami. Big red flag, obviously. He's going to be 25 in August. He's 24 years old right now. You're going to be getting this player in the prime of his career on his rookie contract, which that's what I'm saying. It's not always the worst thing in the world when you draft an older player. But they're one contract guys, and their shelf life is going to be a lot less. So you got to think about where you want to value him in terms of the round. I think that's why I kind of have him maybe leaning third round is the age. And on top of that, he's not a very strong coverage corner, especially in man. I think he's a solid zone defender, but in man coverage, I think he really struggles. He's got the great speed. He ran an apparent 4.3 at his pro day. I think he came out to like some more official numbers around the 4.33, but obviously he's got some juice. He's got pretty good size and build, decent length. But overall, this guy is a game wrecker around the line of scrimmage. I know he had nearly 200 box reps in Miami in this final year. Massive production as a playmaker behind the line of scrimmage. 5 sacks, 13 tackles for losses. He is a phenomenal edge blitzer. He's going to bring a lot of juice and a lot of force to your secondary. And I think eventually over time, he's going to fare better as more of that box safety. He's going to be a little bit more scheme dependent. He's going to need stuff in front of him because he's not great once it gets behind him, especially in zone coverage. When everything is in front of him, which is why I think he's going to be he has a chance to be a good box safety. He's perfectly fine. He explodes down underneath to hit the unders, tackles very well. He does have a high missed tackle rate, but this is a guy who's made a lot of tackles and has a lot of tackle production. Those numbers are always going to be a little bit higher with the missed tackle rates when you're seeing this much production out of the position. So I like Keontae Scott. I think he's going to bring a lot of juice to your defense. Let's go ahead and move into my number 9 cornerback. That's Malik Muhammad out of Texas. I have around a second and third round projection on him as well because he has a little bit of a slender build. Apparently he bulked back up to 190 though for his pro day. So this is a guy who can potentially just drop weight and add weight, 10 pounds like that, but came in at 182 at the combine, ran a fast 40 time. He's a little bit more slender, but he is a lengthy guy, which I like. You know, he's got nearly 33-inch arms, good hands, good height. He is going to eliminate the catch radius on deep balls. He's got the fluid hips that you're looking for, good transitions in his back pedal to the turn to sprint. He's got really good vision as well. I like him in both man and zone. He's reading the quarterback's eyes, making plays, attacking the catch point. He's a very good player. Physicality is where his strong suit doesn't really come in. He's missed a lot of tackles over the course of his career. He's going to get bullied by the larger body receivers because of that slender build. He's going to lose battles at the top of his route. He's going to lose inside against these bigger guys. But overall, he's a really sound coverage cornerback who I think has upside to start as a cornerback 2 in this league on the outside. I think his length really helps him out in press man coverage. He's good to jam in the guys at the line of scrimmage, winning early, and he's got the fluidity and the technique that you like to stay sticky in man. So overall, I like the upside of Malik Muhammad as a long-term cornerback 2 in this league. Let's go ahead and move into my number 8 cornerback, and that's Keith Abney II out of Arizona State. And I really like Keith Abney II. He might be one of my guys of this class because he's a really sticky coverage guy, but he also does bring a physical presence to your secondary. I think you're looking at a day 1 starting nickelback right here in the second round. I think he's going to bring a lot of value to your run defense. He's got a very low missed tackle rate. He's got phenomenal tackling technique, wraps up and drives very well. He's got good eyes in man and in zone coverage. He's very well underneath. And I think outside of his size, which is less than ideal at 5'10", 187 with below average arms. That's obviously going to catch up to him at some point, and he's going to lose his battles because of that. But outside of that, there's not much to not like about his tape. I think overall, it's just going to come down to his size. He struggles to shed blocks, which will be an issue in the run game, but he is a strong run defender. Like I said, he's got good play recognition, and he's a very good tackler in the open field. He's also very handsy sometimes in coverage, which is more normal for college DBs. You know, it's a lot more laxed, I would say, but he's got 14 penalties in college. I usually go like times 1.5 what you would expect in the NFL with how often they throw the flag. I think that's going to need to change as well. He's going to have to clean up his hands with 14 penalties over the last 2 seasons. That's not great. Overall, I like him as a day one impact nickel back. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player to get in the second round. Let's go ahead and move into number 7 cornerback of the class. That's Chris Johnson, and he had one of the more productive lockdown seasons in all of college football. And obviously the biggest knock on him is that he plays football at San Diego State University, which is not his fault, but his talent competition has not been really special over the last 2 years. He hasn't faced a top 10 opponent. He has not really lined up against a premier wide receiver prospect in his 2 seasons as a starter at SDSU. So that's worrisome. How is he going to be able to handle that in the NFL? But overall, the traits are there for him to be a lockdown cornerback in the NFL. He only had 4 career penalties and 1,700 plus snaps, allowed 0 touchdowns in 2025. He punches at the ball. He tackles very well. He's got forced fumbles, interceptions, a lot of tackles on his resume. I think if he was a better block shedder, he could be a phenomenal run defender. So I'm not ready to call him a phenomenal run defender quite yet because he does need to shed the blocks better. But overall, he is very sticky in coverage. From what we've seen and who he's played against, he is extremely sticky in coverage. Like I said, 0 touchdowns allowed this year. A lot of ball production. He attacks the catch point very well. And he's got the talent to flip his hips, run with guys vertically, and play lockdown cornerback at all 3 levels. So there's not much to dislike about Chris Johnson's tape. I think this is a player who could very well go in that sweet spot. I mean, we're talking about a lot of these guys. I think Keith Abney, you're maybe looking more middle to late second round pick, but there's a good chance that Chris Johnson's one of the top 40 players off the board, and he's my number 7 cornerback. I would say maybe top 40 is a little strong, but there's a chance he's in the top 45 at least. I think he's a top 15 pick of that second round guy, and we still got 6 more guys to go. This is a loaded, juiced up class. Let's go ahead and get into my number 6 cornerback. That's D'Angelo Pons out of Indiana, the national champions, baby. And Pons is about 2 to 3 inches away from being a top 15 pick, and maybe about 10 more pounds into that. But 5'9", 182, it's pretty stout. He's a pretty stocky player. So don't really knock him for that 182 because for his height, it's pretty stocky. And boy, let me tell you something about D'Angelo Pons, man. He's a baller. He's a baller. He really is. He is going to be your day one nickelback, and he's going to be an impact player. He's going to be a playmaker at this level. Obviously, the height's going to get to him. It's going to limit his game. It's going to limit his ceiling. You know, there's only so far your 5'9", 182 build in the secondary can take you when you are occasionally lining up against 6'4" guys who have same level verticals than you. I know he has a 43-inch vertical, but they have 40-inch verticals and 6 inches on you with longer arms. That's going to be a cause for concern. But he's a really good run defender. He's a really good tackler. He plays so violent through the ball. He's got 7 interceptions and 33 pass breakups over the last 3 seasons, and he's very fast. He's got really good recovery speed. He stacks receivers with no problem on vertical routes. He's physical underneath. He's going to get swallowed up by some big athletic blockers, and that's going to really struggle for him at times in the run game. But overall, I think his instincts are there. You saw the pick 6 early on in scrimmage in the Oregon game. You know he's got the talent and the instincts in both zone and man coverage, and he's a pretty sticky coverage guy. His hips are a little bit more stiffer than you'd like him to be, and I think that sometimes can get him caught up going inside and outside. But overall, he's a very smart player. He's a very physical player. And if he wasn't 5'9", there's a very good chance that he would be going as a top 20 pick right now. Let's go ahead and move into my number 5 cornerback. That's Brandon Cisse out of South Carolina. Obviously, that stands out to you as that 20-year-old age. I just love that when you see that age from a prospect, not even 21 yet. This is another guy who's going to fall right into that sweet spot with Pons and Chris Johnson. He even is talking about maybe being a pick at 32. He's got ties with Eamon Wari in Seattle. I would not be surprised after they lose Tariq Woolen if this is who they replace him with, because he maybe doesn't have the size of Tariq Woolen or the weight that these normal Seattle DBs, but overall, his ceiling is through the roof because of how athletic he is. If he adds a few more pounds, his traits are through the roof. You know, he's very good out of press, man. He jams at the line of scrimmage very well. He mirrors wide receivers step for step down the field. And I think if he wasn't such a poor tackler, he doesn't have the best technique in the tackling game, he'd be even higher of a prospect. That's probably what's holding him back, on top of he does get a little bit spacey and indecisive in zone coverage. Overall, though, man coverage, he's phenomenal and he's very sticky. I just think it's the age and the lack of reps and the instincts that are going to have to come with him in zone coverage and as a run defender and just working on his technique in the run defense. This is a guy, he puts on a few more pounds and he could be a playmaker because he is physical. He's been lined up in slot. He's been lined up at safety. He's been lined up on the outside. He is a versatile player. I think he's got pass rushing traits to come off the edge. I think this is going to be a chess piece with very, very sticky coverage in man, out of press, and off the ball as well. I really like Brandon Cisse's tape. I would not be surprised if he sneaks in to that back end of the first round right there at pick 32. I believe he's met with the Seahawks as well. So there's a chance he sneaks in to the first round. All right, let's go ahead and move into my number 4 cornerback, and that is Colton Hood out of Tennessee. A very strong prospect. I think he is one of the more physical corners of this entire draft class. He loves to press in man coverage, and he loves to strike hard. He does a really good job at winning the rep early with his strike, rerouting the wide receiver, and then getting leverage and sticking with him the whole way. There's a lot to like about him as an outside cornerback. I think obviously with these press man corners, they can sometimes be a little bit too jumpy. So with these real shifty wide receivers, there's always going to be that quick loss to his game early on in man coverage. So that's something to keep an eye on, but I really love his physicality at the line of scrimmage against these receivers. That it doesn't worry me too much. I think it's one of his best traits. He's fluid in coverage. You know, he's got good length, ideal size for the position. I'd say that he wants to make plays in run defense. He wants to get after it in run defense, and it shows up on his tape. He's a violent tackler, but it does have a lot of missed tackles on his tape as well. Has a career missed tackle rate of 15%. That's something to keep an eye on, but he wants to get after it in the run game, which is already a plus because there's some cornerbacks, man, that don't want to get after it in the run game. That is not a problem at all for Colton Hood. On top of that, though, I think you do see occasional missteps in zone coverage, and I think that's mostly just because of his lack of reps and his instincts. This is a guy who has bounced around in all 3 years. He played at Colorado, Auburn, and now Tennessee. It's tough to find consistency in learning the game when you're going from coaching staff to coaching staff. I do think that's maybe one of the knocks on the NIL, but overall, those missteps and inconsistencies will be, I think, very easily fixable at the NFL level. He's got really good vertical, and his length, like I said, is ideal. He's going to be eliminating the catch radius on a lot of these wide receivers. I think he's a phenomenal football player. I think he's a first-round talent, and he could sneak into the second, depending on, scheme fit with Cisse. He's another one of those guys that can maybe jump Hood, but I think the talent is there for Colton Hood to be a first-round pick. And we're talking about 7 wide receivers, 7 cornerbacks that could be going in the top 45 picks. I fully believe that's possible. It's a really good class for cornerbacks. Let's move into my number 3 cornerback. That's Avion Terrell out of Clemson. Bloodlines are there. His brother, first-round pick for the Falcons in 2020. He's been a really good football player. Obviously, slender build, 5'11", 186, smaller hands. That's going to get you caught up at times. That's what kind of pops off the tape. But there's been a lot of rumblings about him not being physical and afraid to get after it. I necessarily haven't seen that on tape. I don't get where that narrative is coming from, because I've seen him thump some people. He's got 8 forced fumbles in his career, 5 just this last year at Clemson. That doesn't scream not physical to me at all. He wants to get in there and jar the ball loose. I've seen him do it with his pads. I've seen him do it with his arms. He rips, he strips. That's playmaking material right there. That's what you want to see. I think with his size, he's going to move inside. And he had 3 sacks last year. Multiple tackle for losses. I don't see where you have to be. I mean, I get it. You can be a little softer, but he doesn't afraid to get after it. I think this is a guy who plays the game physically. I don't necessarily see the comp of a softer player. And on top of that, I think he's very sticky in coverage. Now, people are going to talk about his speed. I think his speed looked perfectly fine on film. Apparently, he ran a 4.6 at his pro day, but he has been battling a hamstring injury. I would assume for him to be in the high 4.4s, low 4.5s when he's fully healthy. I think that he was really good in man coverage. He's extremely sticky in man coverage. He's going hip to hip with these guys. He's matching the patterns, matching the steps in the receiver's route. So I don't necessarily see the problem with Avion Terrell. Like some people are saying that he just doesn't love football. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. Now, obviously, with his slender frame, he's going to have some struggles with tackling. And, he's going to lose out to some bigger blockers on the inside. Going to struggle to bring down heavier running backs. But overall, like I said, I think he's physical enough and willing to be a good active run defender with solid play recognition. He's extremely smart in coverage as well. I think in man coverage, especially zone, is where he gets a little bit shaky, which you're going to want to see a little bit more of an improvement at that. But he's a young player that over time, I think it will come to him. And he's disruptive around the line of scrimmage, where I think there's so much to like about Avion Terrell's game, that with him being so sticky as he is in man coverage and how fluid he is with his technique in man coverage, off man, press man, it does not matter. He is so good. He flips his hips so well. He is so fluid. All of that with the disruption around the line of scrimmage that he brings to your secondary, moving him into the slot. He's a first-round pick. He's maybe even a top 20 player in this class. And I would not be surprised to see him go in the top 15 to a cornerback needy team. And I don't think that's crazy to say. So let's move on to my number 2, and that's Jermod McCoy. Did not see any reps from him in 2025, but he's got good height, solid length, a little bit more slender than you'd like him to see. But this is a top 20 guy. I think looking at his 2024 tape, you could argue that he's the best cornerback in this class right now. There are people that have McCoy as the best cornerback in this class right now. And then he silenced all the haters at his pro day with his blazing 40. The guy's a freak. That was kind of the questions, like, oh, shit, when was the last time we seen that knee work? We haven't seen him work that knee since December of 2024, like nearly 2 years. That was scary. Boom, pro day. Kind of silenced all of that, I'd say. This guy's phenomenal in coverage. He's got 4 interceptions in 2024. Over his 2 seasons, he had 16 pass breakups. Tracks the ball like a receiver, flips his hips, gets a good vertical, jumps up there, high points the football. No problem down the field. He's very good at eliminating the catch radius. He's a very athletic player who can stick with a wide receiver the length of the field. I think he's probably a top 15 pick in this draft class. Not confirmed. Haven't gone through just everybody yet and haven't solidified just everybody yet, but he has the top 15 talent. He very well could be cornerback 1, and I think there's very fair arguments for him to be the best cornerback in the class. I think the biggest knocks on him are he's just really handsy. He's really physical in his coverage. He had 8 penalties in 2024, and he's also kind of a drag tackler, which leads to a lot of hip drop tackles. You saw that all over his tape. That's worrisome. They do call that in the NFL sometimes, I think. But the penalties will pile up for him if he doesn't improve with his hands, because if you're getting penalties in college, you're going to get a lot in the NFL. Overall, though, Jermod McCoy is a lockdown, guaranteed day 1 starting cornerback who is going to fill in right away and make an impact on your defense. Let's move into my number 1, and that is Mansour Delane out of LSU. Spent his prior years at Virginia Tech. He's probably one of the 10 best players of this draft class, in my opinion. An unreal player. His season in 2025 was that of, like, it was one for the ages. I mean, he had a 31 passer rating when targeted. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like, you have a better passer rating throwing the ball into the dirt every single play. 0 penalties allowed. 0 touchdowns allowed. Extremely fast and explosive player. This dude moves like a gazelle in coverage. Like, he moves like a gazelle. What he put on film this year was unbelievable. He is an extremely sticky man cover. He's got very good long speed to go the distance. He has no problem handle breaking routes across the middle. He will be hip to hip with these guys. He's got very quick hands to rip the ball out late, make plays on the ball. He attacks the catch point very well. He's an explosive player. He's a fast player. He is a fluid player. He is a lockdown cornerback. Literally, the only thing where I'm concerned with is, like, I went and watched some of his Virginia Tech tape. It wasn't as good as it was at LSU. So, I mean, definitely by far the best year he had. That's not a knock on him. I think his tape was good. It just wasn't as good as it was in 2025. And that's not necessarily a knock. Players get better over time, but holy shit, comparing the two, it was pretty big difference. And his shorter arms and more slender build might cause some tackling issues at the NFL level. I think he kind of struggles to shed blocks in the run game. He's not a phenomenal run defender. He's a good run defender, but not phenomenal run defender. And I do think that he could track the deep ball a little bit better, turn his head a little bit quicker, follow it in the air with his eyes a little bit better, because I do think that he's leaving some plays on the table in terms of just pass breakups or interceptions, that if he can get his head around just a little bit quicker, we're talking about adding 2 to 3 more picks a season to his game. So I love Mansour Delane's ceiling. I think he's an immediate impact cornerback. I think he's one of the 10 best players in this class, and I think he's going to bring day one. I think very quickly he's going to be one of the top 10 guys in the NFL. That's how good his film is. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video. We got safeties coming out and edge rushers still to go for my defensive class before we move into next week, moving into running backs, quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, and offensive linemen. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good shit. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.